Hello, and thank you for joining us today for the virtual fair in teaching and curriculum. My name is Mitchell Patterson. I'm happy to share with you that we have two of our guests from the program, Dr. Beth Scott, who serves as the professor in charge of the teaching curriculum program here at Penn State Harrisburg, and her colleague, Dr. Francine Baker, who serves as the program coordinator down at Penn State York teaching curriculum program. Without further ado, if each of you could just give us a brief overview of your professional background and your passion and interest in education.
I'd be happy to do that. As Mitchell said, I'm Dr. Beth Scott. I did my undergrad work in elementary education at Gordon College north of Boston, and then I actually taught overseas at an international primary school for 3 years. Upon return, I started my master's work, and in the process moved from the Philadelphia area to here. And so I did my master's actually of teaching and curriculum right here at Penn State Harrisburg. Wow. So, but at that time, the reading specialist program was in that program, so I did got my reading specialist. I worked for a long time as a reading specialist. I was in Central Dauphin School District, reading specialist for 20 years, classroom for 8. But in the process, I started my PhD program at Maryland, University of Maryland in College Park, and knew that that was my next step. So this is my 5th year at Penn State Harrisburg. I am happy to be back. I'm enjoying it very much. And yes, I am a literacy professor. But my areas of interest are in the areas of, I do enjoy examining assessment, so it's a key part of teaching curriculum, and just, and another key area is helping college students access textbooks. So my dissertation research was in the area of how do we help students, not just college students, but 6th grade students, secondary students, really be able to access the large amount of content that's in textbooks by examining how they're structured, how the information is structured. And so I've been working on that. I'm also working on a project with a colleague, Dr. Jane Wilburn, on, again, in the content areas where we are examining how students process math word problems. Me from the literacy perspective and Dr. Wilburn from the math perspective. So that's the pies I have my fingers in right now.
Sounds like a lot, yes. And Professor Baker?
I'm Francine Baker, and my background is in special education. I've started my career as a special education teacher. My first professional teaching position was on the Navajo Nation in Arizona. And then I moved to the Pennsylvania area and pursued my master's degree in special education, primarily in working with children with autism from Johns Hopkins University, and also achieved a graduate certificate and supervisory certification, but I have not yet earned that doctoral certificate or degree. So that still would be in the works. Things to continue to work towards. Some of my focus areas are, as I mentioned, working with children and families with autism, early intervention, a lot with positive behavioral supports, teacher development and training, and working with teachers, families, and children in more urban or extreme rural environments.
Excellent. How long have you been with Penn State York?
This is my 3rd year.
3rd year. 3rd year. Yes. All right. Well, good. Well, to move the program further along, the format for today is we're going to invite you to share with us and listen to a PowerPoint presentation about the Masters in Teaching and Curriculum, and then we'll bring it back to you, the audience, for a roundtable discussion to look at the ways in which the program is delivered, and some exciting stuff. And we do encourage you, our invited guests, to please send in questions that you may have from Google Hangouts or whichever link that you use to join us today. But we would invite your questions because we will try and get to as many questions from the audience as we possibly can. But without further ado, let's get to the PowerPoint presentation and learn all about the master's degree in teaching and curriculum.
Well, I am very excited to talk about the Master of Education in Teaching and Curriculum degree program. We just want to share, Francine and I just want to share with you how you can join the Penn State community and how you can learn and grow as an educator in whatever role you find yourself in. We just feel that the program has so much to offer, and we hope that you pick up on that today as we share these ideas with you. So, you know, we're often thinking as educators, where am I in the process? I'm sure you're thinking, you know, I'm at this place in my career, can I change? What can I do to be more effective? What can I do to make myself more marketable? There's often, we get to points in our career where we really examine those questions and want to get to another place and take our teaching to another level. And as you've often seen in anything having to do Penn State, we use the word we are. And so we are, in the Master of Education and Teaching and Curriculum program, we are preparing teachers to be educational leaders in Central Pennsylvania. And we are excited about this process and what we have to offer. I'm going to turn it over to Francine here. And Francine, just tell us a little bit more about why we're excited.
Why we're excited about our program, absolutely. So one of the great features of the program and having teacher leaders in Central Pennsylvania is that the program is operated through Penn State Harrisburg and extended to the Penn State York campus, which is exciting because we get to reach a whole nother area of teachers that are looking to, as Beth said, continue and expand their reach in their classrooms and their education and learning. And so we share faculty from the Penn State Harrisburg campus, and we also are able to bring in some faculty through Penn State York as well, so that we're having faculty that are certainly high quality and current in helping teachers guide them along their teaching path. One of the fabulous pieces about being at Penn State York is to be able to have teachers kind of walk that bridge from their classroom practice and the demands in the classroom with research. And our faculty is there to help the teacher candidates explore topics of research that are relevant to them in their curricular area, and to take that research and really help it to empower their curriculum and help them make really informed decisions about what they're doing in their classrooms. There's a lot that's dictated currently in education, and so as an educator, having the ability to understand what you're doing and to serve as a leader in your own classroom or in your own school or community is vital. And that's why also one of the bulleted items is that personalized learning experience. It's really looking at each educator's individual, really your passions, and how to have theory and research and practice and strategies that feeds that and translates that right into your classroom and your effect with children. And probably moving on to the next slide, talks about just some basics of the degree. It is a 30-credit degree program. There's 6 core courses. Again, those will emphasize curriculum, and they will also be the courses that will give you that foundation in the research and theory. And then there are additional 12 credits or 4 electives that are to equal the 30 credits. And those elective areas, we're going to talk about more in a couple of slides about some options that you have for those electives and how to apply those.
Thanks. Okay, so as Francine mentioned, the program, the core courses are 6 500-level courses, and I'd just like to run through those. The first course that we want to talk about is Curriculum Foundations, and this course is designed to encourage teachers to examine just why it is we teach what we teach. it's the theoretical and the philosophical underpinnings, because a lot of times teachers teach things but really have no idea why they're doing it. So this gives them a chance to really examine that from a historical perspective, even from a political perspective, because it's important that we know what gets into our curriculum and why. So that course really forces teachers and encourages teachers to examine that. And then the curriculum development and instructional design course puts the nuts and bolts to that. So here's where we're actually learning about curriculum development. We are considering the issues that need to be considered when we are designing curriculum, what factors teachers need to consider to make sure that they're obviously covering standards, the content that they're using. And in this course, students actually design curriculum, and that is sort of the key project that they're participating in. EDUC 520 is our learning theory class, and this typically is your entry course into the program. So this course is where you are examining and studying the various theories that we look at that inform how kids learn. So how is it that kids learn? And not all kids learn the same way. And so you have the opportunity to look at one particular student or a number of students in light of the different theories and to understand perhaps better that student. The next, another course is the educational assessment course. And this is a very relevant course. They're all relevant, but particularly in the climate we find ourselves in today, and I actually happen to be teaching this, I'm really passionate about this right now, that because we're in a very data-driven educational environment, how we handle assessment, how we view assessment, what we do with data is really critical. So this course explores those things both from at a classroom level, at a school level, and at a district-wide level. So our students really get to understand the processes we need to engage in when we are assessing our students. And then EDUC 586 is our educational research designs. While we embed research throughout our courses, in this course you're really examining research, how research is organized, how we collect data, how we find out about things that we want to learn about in our classrooms, and those are examined in detail, both quantitative and qualitative research designs. And that course then leads to the final course, and that could be a choice of either the education seminar or the master's project. So the education seminar is our capstone course where you participate, you collect data, you're examining your practice, and you write a publishable quality paper based on your interests, your passions, and what data you've collected. The other option is to do a master's project, or just in maybe more familiar terms, a master's thesis. Don't be scared by the thesis part, but it's just if you want to examine something perhaps in a little more depth, you might choose this as your option. But both of them are excellent ways to complete your degree and come at the end of the degree program.
And here we talk about all of these courses, the core courses, and then we're going to next talk about the elective courses. But really what connects all of those core courses and the elective courses really is you as an individual. One of the highlights of the program is that it is a generalist degree. It is serving teachers from pre-K through 12th grade. And so that experience of sharing, even amongst your classmates, your colleagues, really helps you fine-tune some of your own passions and expand some of your horizons and what's happening in education. And so you're able to take what your passions are, educational issues that you want to see affect some change with, and shape those into some of your coursework.
Yeah, let me just add on to that that really you design your course of study, which is very exciting. Those electives are really something where you get to have a voice in what you're going to study, and the core courses provide the framework by which to analyze your passions.
Again, there's 12 credits for the elective courses, and Dr. Scott will talk in the next slide about some of the options of applying those 12 credits towards just towards the Master of Education teaching curriculum, or perhaps to some other options with certificate areas. One of the things at the Penn State York campus that we also do is most students will take 3 elective courses, and then they will earn 3 credits in an implementation courses. There's 3 1-credit each implementation courses. And what those courses are really designed to do is help you through the core courses identify an area of research that you really want to see applied in your classroom or implemented in your classroom, and that's action research. So you select your topic of research and you directly implement that in your classroom or school environment, and you're guided as a class, so you're guided through with your instructor on that implementation process. So that's one of the options available in the program as well.
Yeah, and that really shows the flexibility that you have in tailoring this program to where you're at and what you want to explore. So you could take those 12 credits and look at things in a variety of areas. One example is I had a social studies teacher who really wanted to bone up on some specific content areas. So she really looked at the history options that she could. So that's just one example of how you can do that. However, there are many other options, and this is the exciting part. One thing that you can do is actually begin the process of earning an additional state certification. So we offer ESL certification, special education certification, and principal certification. Those 4 courses, those 12 credits, can be applied, so you can start taking courses towards those certifications as part of your master's degree, which is absolutely a great way to do it. The asterisks behind these indicate that it will require more than 30 credits. Because you're earning both an additional certificate and a master's degree, these programs require more, but it's definitely worth it. And if you're interested in those, that's certainly something we can talk about. You can also earn state endorsements. So these are like specialization areas in instructional coaching and math coaching. Another option is to get your director's credential. If you are interested in running a daycare, a learning center, that's what that training is for. A couple other options are to become a National Writing Project Fellow, and or earn a Literacy Leadership Certificate, which is specifically targeted but not limited to administrators who want to learn more about literacy. That's going to help them better serve their teachers in their buildings with more background. So there's just so many options. As you can see, this is really the degree that you make it, you design it, and how you want to use those credits is really up to you. So just a quick breeze through our faculty. We have wonderful faculty. Ruben Asampapa teaches math. Karen Sprout-Forte is one of our ESL professors, and she also teaches some of the core courses. Carolyn Grice teaches 2 of the core courses. Zina Hajuanu is in literacy and also might teach an ESL course. That's me, and I do teach a couple of courses in the program, and core courses, that is. Dr. Spector, Hannah Spector, teaches the Curriculum Foundations course, and Martha Strickland the Learning Theory class, the entry class, EDUC 520. Mike Swager teaches EDUC 506, which is the Curriculum Design class. And we have Mary Napoli, Dr. Napoli, who teaches children's literature, which is an option that you can in the language arts concentration. Weston Kensinger and Raphael Lucas, they teach the EDUC 586, the educational design class. And Jane Wilburn teaches both the courses in the math coaching endorsement as well as the assessment class. So a real wonderful cross-section of different content area backgrounds that inform and bring just a different perspective to your classes.
How are courses delivered? Well, that's a frequently asked question, and many students come looking for the face-to-face courses, which is an option both in the Harrisburg campus and the York campus. Their courses can be delivered in their entirety face-to-face, or they can be done in a hybrid or model where part of your courses are face-to-face, part of your courses would be online, or they can be fully online. And what's also nice about the hybrid model is it allows some of the students who have traditionally only taken courses face-to-face to kind of prepare themselves for all online coursework. And the funny thing I've experienced is students will be like, I only want face-to-face, and then they take a hybrid course, and I'm like, when's the next hybrid course? So
it's really a nice blend. It really gives a nice mix of and opportunities to work independently, but things that need to be discussed. And you benefit from discussion, then you want to do those during the face-to-face class meetings.
And just as teachers are trying to reach all their learners and their different ways of learning, it's the same thing that we're trying to do with our programs. We're trying to extend our reach as well, and also personalize it to for the teachers and students for their learning experience that they're most seeking. So there's some options there as well.
Okay, so if you are going to apply, there are some things that you need to consider in the process. The first one is that we look for an overall junior-senior grade point average of 3.0. We need 2 letters of recommendation from a principal or former professors. So if you're working, the principal's fine. I often get questions whether it has just be professors. No, it can be your most current employment situation. A personal career goal statement, and we need some test scores. If you are not a certified teacher, and you wouldn't have the praxis exams, otherwise the praxis exams are perfectly acceptable. Otherwise we need the GRE or the Miller analogies. And very important to know is that we do have rolling enrollment, so we are constantly receiving applications, reviewing them, and accepting students into the program. And we try to be as expeditious about that process as possible. We, I believe online it says 4 to 6 weeks. We try to do that more quickly, as quickly as we possibly can. So what might this look like for you? Well, depending on your situation, some students maybe already have a master's degree, but you're looking to develop or gain some additional professional development. So you might just apply as a non-degree student and be able to access these courses and take advantage of them. Ideally, however, most students apply as degree students, or some, if they're not sure, apply as non-degree and then come in as degree students. The one thing I want to just stress is that any courses that you take as a non-degree need to be transferred into the degree program, and only 10 of those credits can do that. So we just have to watch that to make sure that you don't lose any of your hard work and not have that count. So that's something to consider when you're deciding how you might enter and begin your coursework. And of course, we have to talk about cost. Yes, we have to pay the bills. So probably one of the easiest ways for you to consider what the tuition is going to be is to go to the website listed there, tuition calculator, because it does it by campus, by program. And then and put in your information. You also, if you're teaching, have information from your district as to how much they'll pay, but this is a starting place. We also, if you apply and are accepted into our education programs, we have an automatic $500 educator scholarship that is applied to the students' tuition. So that's just a real bonus. We believe strongly in our program, and our chancellor and senior academic dean do as well. And so they are supporting us in this. There are a number of other opportunities for scholarships for which you need to apply, and they're listed there as well. So we really try to support our students in any way that we can to make this as feasible as possible.
Where are our graduates? It's funny, I was just meeting with a group of 35 teachers about 2 weeks ago, and all these hands went up and said, I was talking about the program, and they're like, we completed the program. So
there you go.
They were able to share some testimonials as well firsthand. The one you're seeing there is from one of the teachers who graduated in 2016 and currently working in the school district of the city of York, a math educator. And her reflection is that her degree has allowed her to be more effective in her work and become a better educator. The knowledge that she has gained has given her the confidence that she's needed to develop her voice. And that sentiment of developing your voice, when I went back and reviewed commencement speeches that some of our graduates in New York have written and prepared, that was a continual theme, was really finding my voice and my voice in education. One of the stories I relayed this afternoon that a graduate relayed kind of comically was, I never thought I would find myself in the teacher faculty room citing research and theorists, and she goes, and there I was, and I was really excited to do it, and everyone was excited to hear about it. So really nice feedback from our graduates, and it goes without saying that strong Penn State alumni, we have graduates returning and sharing as guest lecturers and sharing their experiences as well.
Oh, another alumni is Jared Campbell. He graduated in 2010, and Jared clearly conveys how important the emphasis on research in our program is. He said, the coursework and relationships built over the duration of my experience helped me to view teaching as a research endeavor. I learned to ground my educational work in seminal research and connect to current research efforts. And I would say that that is something that we do really value highly, is to really find our foundation in the research, learn how to research, learn how to ask research questions and find the data and collect that information, and then think about it and what the implications of that are for our practice. So there's a broad range. So Jared certainly is a great example. He's working at the Pennsylvania Training and Technical Assistance Network, also known as PATAN. Another graduate is an example of someone who's gone through the Ed Leadership Program or the Principal Certification Program. That would be Justin Hanula. He graduated in 2011, and he is now the principal at Lower Dauphin High School. So there's someone who has taken advantage of that certification opportunity and used those credits for that purpose. And this is Tara Russo. Tara graduated in 2011. She also, interestingly, is working at the Pennsylvania Assistance and Training and Technical Assistance Network. Tara says, Penn State's MED in Teaching and Curriculum helped me to develop an understanding of how to be a critical reader of research, understand the nuances of curriculum development and instructional design, and the importance of assessment to guide instruction. Really a sort of a encapsulating statement of what we're trying to do in the program. So as we wrap this up, we want you to envision yourself in this picture. This could be you, right, Francine? That in the library, finding research, in class, collaborating with students, and ultimately walking across that stage and receiving that hood. Both Francine and I are very excited about this opportunity. We would love to meet with you. We would love to talk to you. Please contact us. Our information's right there on the screen, and we would be happy to find a time that works for you and works for us.
Excellent. Well, that was a very informative and well-enriched presentation about the master's degree in teaching and curriculum and how it's delivered in 2 separate locations at the York campus and at Penn State Harrisburg. I believe we have a question from the audience, so we want to take that first before we get into our roundtable discussion. So let's get the question.
So the question is, I have already finished an ESL certificate from Penn State Harrisburg and would now like to complete a master's. Would I have to apply for admission, and how would my credits transfer?
It's a great question. I've heard that one before. So yes, you would need to apply to the program, and what we would do is, depending on how long ago those ESL credits were taken, they have to be taken within 5 years, so that we would have to look at that. But you would apply to the program. Once accepted, then we would work to transfer 4 of those ESL courses into your degree program. And once they're transferred into the program, then you complete your core courses and you're on your way. So that does work. We have people kind of do it both ways. Some students will come in and start the degree program and chip away at the certification. Other people do a certification first, and then decide they want to finish and get the full degree. So it can work both ways.
Excellent, excellent. All right. And please, we encourage you, the viewing audience, to forward questions to us. We have 2 of the best in our profession, so we'll be happy to answer those questions. But I would like to keep the conversation moving. So I have a few questions that I think will be applicable to the audience. So in the last 10 years, has technology reshaped the pedagogy of teaching? And if so, in which way has it moved, to the left or to the right, if I can use those terms?
I'm not sure it's that easy and straightforward. When you think about pedagogy is very principle and theoretically and research based. So there's some real key things that we continue to apply regardless of the infusion of technology into what we're doing. However, I think what pedagogy has done is just broadened and expanded how students can, first of all, access content. Okay. Then how they can show what they've learned about content. So how do they display their learning? Well, it used to be a lot of times you did a report, you did a project, but now technology has just given students voice, because they can then use any number of mediums or applications to show, this is what I know, this is what I've learned. So I think it really plays into the fact that students learn differently. So then they can, we can have them showing evidence of their learning differently as well. If you want to follow up with that.
Sure. I actually love that question, because sometimes they're thought of as 2 really separate entities, technology and pedagogy. And for me as a special educator, technology has always been a vital experience in the classroom. As Beth mentioned, literally for a lot of students, that technology provides the voice or provides the mobility for some of our students that are in specialized learning environments. Technology now, is become embedded in every classroom. So while that could have been a choice in the past, how a teacher integrated technology, it's embedded in every classroom, and it's embedded in every student's life experience. And so how we use technology, are we using technology just to substitute what we were doing on pencil and paper? Or are we using technology to really respond to true pedagogy and teaching, and how we're looking at strategies? And are we using the technology to say all students are now engaged? And not that, we're always having students engaged, but there are ways that technology makes that so much more efficient. And also, how are we integrating technology in a very responsible way? And that's something that I think teachers are educating parents about a lot, especially when districts have gone one-on-one with technology in their classroom. There's a lot of questions about, well, that looks like a game. Are they playing, or are they learning? Are you just substituting an activity, or are you modifying it, or are you really extending it? So I was in a classroom, a 3rd grade classroom this morning, and it was really fun to see how that technology was used to really differentiate that instruction. And even just down to, some kids went to orchestra and some kids came back in, and how they're catching up, and the teacher could really quickly assess instruction and skill set. Which kids, where were they each at in the lesson? So, and they were all engaged. So, powerful tool in teaching.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, another question for both of you. As it relates to education, we've talked a lot about access to education and the wide variation of how you can implement it. Is this just for those who have an undergrad degree in education? Because I run into a lot of people throughout my travels as an admissions officer here at Penn State, and people are looking to do career changes all the time. You know, I've done 10, 15, 20 years in an industry, and I want to come back to school, and I want to get an education. I want to teach. You know, I have a new calling in life or a new purpose in life. So tell me what are some of the segues that a person who doesn't have an education background in this true sense, but still interested in the master's degree in teaching and curriculum, how would that work for them?
Okay, so if a student is if a prospective student is interested in learning about education, you could come to this program without a teaching certificate and take these courses. They are not going to certify. You're not going to earn a state certificate in teaching. However, if you are interested in that actually, it's interesting, we're in the process of talking about the possibility of doing that. So were we to do this recording a year from now, that actually might be something that we would be including. So just for anyone listening, just stay tuned, because that's often a question that we get. Someone in a post-baccalaureate situation may want to change careers.
Right.
So typically the students that apply are in education. We have some that might be in a field where they are doing professional development or training, and they want that education, education information or content. So they certainly are eligible. But as far as getting a certificate, that's in the process, and that might be something that we will be offering, I think, actually in the very near future. But certainly for our teachers who do have certificates, they tend to be the bulk, but there are sometimes people come in with just a regular bachelor's degree but want that further training in education.
Okay.
And it does meet the requirements for instructional 2 certification. So a lot of teachers have their instructional certificate in teaching, and they need an additional 24 credit hours. Those 24 credits in the Master of Education teaching curriculum do apply for the instructional 2 certificate. They do already have an initial teaching certificate. Yes.
Okay. And staying focused, wanted to look at the 3 focal points of the program: curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Tell me, or let's talk about why do these 3 areas serve as the bedrock, if you will, for a teaching and curriculum master's degree in education?
You know, as I was thinking about this, I was like, which one do I start with? Because they really are cyclical. It's hard to pick one and say this is where it starts, but I'm going to start with curriculum.
Okay.
So we're in an age in education where we're very standard oriented, and we start with the standards, and you've heard of the Common Core, and then Pennsylvania developed their PA Core. And they identify the proficiencies we want students to attain, but must attain. But what's so exciting about curriculum is in the curriculum is where you actually get to define what students' experiences are going to be in the classroom. What is that going to look like? What content are we using to help students learn or gain this proficiency that the standards identify? And so that is very exciting to be able to do that. What are the resources we're going to use? What are the materials? What's the process? What's the how of we get students thinking in these areas? So that's the curriculum, and so that's what we learn to do. We learn the foundation of it, so we have that underlying foundation of why we teach what we teach, and that in turn can inform, okay, so I'm developing a curriculum for a particular content area. These are the things I know, these are the proficiencies I want my students to develop. And that's not the only thing. We hear that sometimes we're so focused on standards.
Right.
Yes, those are the basic things we have to, but so the curriculum really puts the meat on the bones. It really fleshes out what that looks like in practice in the schools, and outlines that for the teachers. So then you move to instruction. Well, they're all important, but this is where the rubber meets the road. Yeah. So this is where it happens. This is where it comes together. And a colleague of mine has used the term, you are instructional designers. And I love that, because teachers take that curriculum and they design instruction to get their students, to reflect who their students are and how to meet their students' needs. So that's instructions where they take that curriculum, okay, this is the content I'm using, but now I take this and I use it to reach my students the way they need to be reached. And that's the beauty of the instruction. The assessment is critical. And I really have my head in the assessment world right now, teaching this right now. So, but one of the things we talk about with assessment is the idea of finding the story in the data. We are very, very much in a data-driven environment in education right now. And we really need to be effective students and analysts of data, because that's how we determine what's going to inform both our curriculum and our instruction. So we need to know how to do that. That's critical. And so in our coursework, we teach, okay, so what processes do you go through to really identify that story so that you're being effective? You're not just sort of going out and trying something new. You're knowing why you do it and the support is there, and then you implement it. Either maybe it's at a curricular level, that may be one of the questions you ask. Maybe it's at the instructional level. But actually analyzing the data will force you to look at those areas. So they're really all intertwined, but all very important.
Wow.
When you look at the assessment in that way, you can also look at the assessment as the power to try new things with your instruction. It can be the tool that supports you in being very creative with your instruction. And here's your curriculum, and that might be set. But what that looks like in my classroom and with my students or in my school building or community, how that looks, my assessment can support me in taking that to a whole new level and really some more creative and exciting ways. Those things that really, as a teacher, have you passionate and excited about, like we were talking about.
Excellent.
Individualizing that.
And I want to tie that into, because I like that terminology in terms of being a designer.
I love it too.
That's a really powerful statement. It's saying that how are students utilizing this with final projects, be it a capstone or a master's thesis? So tie that in for the audience in terms of just what does that look like? What's some of the new and cutting edge pieces or technologies or something that serves as 21st century learning today?
Well, this is really exciting stuff. The capstone course is where it all comes together. You bring the pieces together. And we do have students take that at the end, and that is intentional because the idea is to bring all your learning together. Some of the studies that have been done, it's very interesting. In the capstone course where they're writing a publishable quality paper, one student, their district was looking at the potential of using flipped classrooms. And the idea of flipped classroom is where the bulk of the instruction occurs through technology. And then when you're actually in the class, you are talking, you're doing problems, the teacher's intervening with students who may be having difficulty. So it's sort of, we think of it as you go to class and you get all the information, and then you go home and you apply it and do your homework, and we're flipping that model. That's what flipped classrooms are talking about. And so this particular student did a survey about students' perceptions of how technology is used in math in preparation for the potential of flipping the classroom. She was exploring issues that may be related to the success or not lack of success that this might have. So, and one of the things she found was that students really valued the social aspect of the school learning environment. So it's something to consider when you're considering the possibility of flipping classrooms. We have to make sure that we give students time, particularly our secondary students, but any students, the opportunity to engage with one another. Sure. Another study was this student examined, she was just really into the idea of students evaluating their own progress. And so she set up a continuum and taught it to her students. She trained her students, and it was the novice, apprentice, journeyman, master. And so She talked to her students, gave them examples, modeled what does that look like if you're a novice, if you're a journeyman, or an apprentice, if you're a journeyman, and if you're a master. And then she took that, once she had trained the students in that, then she, with particular goals that they had set in class, the students began to self-assess themselves. Where were they in this process? They actually had these terms they could use to identify where they were at. And we know very powerfully, students that are perceptive of where they are in their own learning, it really aids them. So, and then in her paper, she actually verbalized how students would say, well, I'm an apprentice right now because, and they could verbalize, they knew exactly why they were where they were. That is just fabulous and exciting research. And so those are both done in the Capstone course. Right now we have a student who is working on the master's project. So she's doing what we would commonly call a thesis. And she's using a narrative inquiry approach to learn from students in an urban school setting what their perceptions are of school and their own self-efficacy and their own potential in that situation and how those two tie together. So it's all very powerful research and just done at different levels, but all of it informing and making teachers really consider their practice and what can I do to be most effective.
Wow.
And it's not just the final course where we're seeing this happen. Of course, I mentioned in New York we have the implementation courses, so we're seeing action research from there. But even on some of our elective courses, each summer in New York we run 1 week special topics, 1 week plus special topics elective courses, and in there we always run the courses. There's one that's on technology, and the theme around that changes each year. And in the technology course, the students are designing pieces of their curriculum and projects that they go back and directly implement in their classroom or their school. So they're really looking at how they're embedding technology and the effectiveness of that. This past summer, one of the courses was in equity. All of the students left and prepared and designed projects. A lot of them they did it as a group together, some projects that they were using topics that are currently happening and meaningful in their environment and researching and applying those.
Wow, it all sounds like fantastic opportunities and wonderful things that, again, engages the students towards learning. I want to go further with this in terms of, we know that the bottom value or the end goal is earning that master's degree in TNC, teaching and curriculum. But with all that's going on today, when you begin to think about 21st century learning, where is the added value, if you will, to talk about certifications in something, being a specialist in something? Because I think, again, just looking at the ways in which the landscape of learning has changed or shifted from time when we were all in school. So are students motivated to get a specialization in something, let's say reading specialist, special education, where the needs are, and why is it important for students to get this added value in addition to the master's degree?
Well, that's a great question, because we often get reports from the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and they list where the needs are in education. And two of those right now are English ESL teachers and special education.
Wow.
Both of which you can work on within the parameters of this degree. So right there, that can make you more marketable. But I would also say things like the math coaching endorsement, just giving yourself that endorsement in your building or on a math committee provides you with just, an extra level of expertise in which you can then be a voice and a leader in whatever that field, in this case math, and work with teachers at your building. So whether you aspire to maybe take on a different position or in education, or you're saying, no, I'm really happy in the classroom, but just want to get to that level where you're in a leadership position, you have those options in this program, and that's what gets us all excited. Because it really gets us excited to offer that to students.
Sure. Francine, would you like to add to that?
I think the other piece Like Dr. Scott said, even if you want to remain in the classroom, in your classroom, a lot of teachers come and they inquire about the program and they say, you know, last year, the number of students in my classroom that English was their second language and my ability to reach them, I'm not feeling confident in. Or I feel like I discovered this new passion and I want the certification because I do feel really confident with this and I want that certification to support me. Or the same as with special education. We know that students are included and we want all students participating and learning and engaged at the highest rate possible. And so the coursework, the opportunity to study that or to become certified in those areas really does expand either your skill set as a teacher or your opportunities for both.
Excellent.
I would add also the National Writing Project, the ability to become a National Writing Project Fellow. That's a national program. We are the only one in this area that offers that, the Capital Area Writing Project. So again, someone who's saying, you know, I'm not really interested in another certification, you could be, but you know how important writing is, writing something you really enjoy or you want to learn more about it, that would be a great option.
All right. Well, we're just about ready to wrap up the show for today. And I would like to always give the last words to our guest. So closing statements, I'll start with you on my right. Professor Baker.
Thank you for this opportunity. It was a pleasure to spend some time here and to talk about a program that I feel really helps teachers meet the needs of students. And ultimately, that's why we're all in this field. We want to see, it sounds cliche, but we want to make a difference. And we want to make a difference in the lives of our students and our families and ultimately in our society. And so we're really here to help bridge that and support you with that experience.
Excellent. And Dr. Scott?
Well, I just love the fact that in this program, you can make it your own. I know when I was looking for a master's program, I was talking to someone and asking for advice, and they said, you really make your master's program your own. It's really at this level you're making your own. And I think, well, I just know that this program offers you that opportunity. You can really explore your interests, your passions. As I often ask students, what makes you mad about education? You can explore those and really know and then learn how to do something about it and to really bring about change. And in a very way that uses research and employs those important processes that we know you need to use to do it effectively. So
excellent. Well, thank you both. So we are educating change agents here at Penn State Harrisburg and at also Penn State York. We thank you for joining us for this great virtual fair in our master's degree program in teaching and curriculum. Please visit us at our website here and you can learn more information about the particular program. So thank you, Dr. Scott and Professor Baker for providing such wonderful information about our program. Take care.